the invitation to redefine your understanding of life. There are rare moments when a quiet feeling arises deep within us, a subtle yet unmistakable sense that the life we know is not the entirety of what life truly is. Fleeting instants when we sense that behind ordinary days lies something far greater, an unseen tapestry, carefully woven, connecting meanings we have not yet learned to perceive. This video is an intimate invitation to journey through 8 profound philosophical concepts capable of transforming the way you perceive existence itself. Subscribe to this channel, engage with this reflection, and allow these ideas to ripple through your own life, so that others too might awaken to a new way of seeing the world. Each concept offered here is more than an abstract thought. It is an open window. Through them, you may glimpse what was once hidden. In the silent currents of time, within the nature of your own thoughts, and in the quiet decisions that continuously sculpt your destiny. This will not be a detached theoretical lecture. It is an inward exploration, one that threads philosophy, science, and the most intimate aspects of human experience into a living dialogue within you. These ideas emerged across different eras and diverse cultures, yet they share something timeless and essential. They dare to question what we assume to be certain. And when our certainties are gently shaken, something within us begins to stir. Recognizing that what we once believed to be absolute may, in fact, be relative, is often the very first step toward a profound inner freedom. A freedom that reshapes how we feel, how we act, and ultimately, how we love. Throughout this journey, you will be invited to reflect deeply. What if life is far more than it appears on the surface? What if reality itself is intertwined with the way we perceive and interpret it? What if the meaning we tirelessly seek has been quietly present in every moment, patiently waiting to be noticed? Do not rush for immediate answers. Allow each question to settle like a seed planted in the quiet soil of your awareness. While the world outside rushes forward in relentless haste, here, time will stretch and soften. Together we will walk slowly, allowing each concept not merely to be understood but to be felt. Philosophy is not only the work of reasoning, it is the art of living fully awake. And when we open ourselves to its quiet guidance, even the most ordinary moments of life become opportunities for transformation. By the end of this journey, you may discover that life does not need to be reinvented to feel entirely new. Sometimes, it is simply a matter of seeing with different eyes. Eyes that recognize depth where we once saw routine, wonder where we once saw distraction, and meaning where we once felt emptiness. This is the vision we will nurture together, concept by concept, until the world begins to reveal its most intimate face. The map of the 8 philosophical concepts. Before we dive deeply into this journey, we must first glimpse the path that lies ahead. These are 8 philosophical concepts that, when fully felt and integrated into your being, can transform the way you understand your own life and the world surrounding you. Each concept is not merely an idea. It is a key, not to unlock external doors, but to reveal inner rooms you may never have dared to visit, chambers where parts of yourself quietly wait to be discovered. The first concept is reality as a reflection of the mind, the notion that what we witness in the outer world is shaped, almost sculpted, by what we carry within. The second is time as a human construction, which challenges the rigid linearity we impose on days and years, inviting us instead to rediscover the immediacy and sacredness of the now. The third opens the door to the duality between body and consciousness, inviting us to explore the mysterious frontier where matter ends and the intangible begins. And the fourth concept speaks of universal interconnection, the unseen web that binds everything that exists, from the tiniest particles to vast galaxies. The fifth plunges into the paradox of knowing and not knowing, revealing how true wisdom begins in the humble recognition of our own ignorance. The sixth is freedom and responsibility, a reminder that to choose is to create, and that every decision we make carries the quiet weight of authorship over the lives we are shaping. But the seventh concept unveils impermanence and the value of the present moment, awakening us to the truth that everything changes. And precisely because of this, each instant is sacred and unrepeatable. Finally, the eighth concept leads us toward the unity of thinking, feeling, and living, an inner integration that turns philosophy from distant theory into embodied presence, transforming knowledge into a way of being. These concepts are not isolated fragments. They are threads woven into the same living tapestry. As you explore them one by one, you may begin to notice how they intertwine, revealing something far greater than the sum of their parts. A completely new way of walking through the world. Each will serve as a stage, a portal, expanding your perception and slowly reshaping your relationship with everything that exists. Now that we have glimpsed the map, we are ready to begin the crossing. The first portal invites us to question something profound. To what extent is the reality we speak of truly real? What if the world we perceive is nothing more than a mirror of what resides quietly within us? It is through this reflection that our journey will begin. Reality as a reflection of the mind. Have you ever noticed how, on mornings when you wake up in peace, even heavy traffic feels less chaotic, almost gentle? And how, on days when anger brews within you, even the most neutral glance can seem like provocation? This seemingly simple observation reveals something profound. The world we perceive outside is never just the world. It is also the mirror of everything we carry inside. Our minds color reality, and those colors shift constantly according to what we feel and think. The philosophy of idealism, championed by thinkers such as Berkeley, suggests that all we truly know of existence is ultimately mental experience. Centuries later, neuroscience confirms this perspective. We do not perceive raw reality, but rather an interpretation, a construction of the brain shaped by memory, emotion, and expectation. What we call reality is, in part, an inward projection as much as an external fact. In daily life, this means two people can endure the exact same situation and yet live it in entirely different ways. A single compliment may heal or unsettle, depending on the personal story we silently narrate to ourselves. A moment of silence can feel like serenity to one and rejection to another. Recognizing this is deeply liberating. If the mind shapes the world we see, then learning to reshape the mind becomes the beginning of freedom. How many times have we believed life itself must change before we can change? But what if it's the other way around? What if the shift must begin in our perception, and only then does the world follow? Small inner gestures, like cultivating gratitude or observing thoughts without attachment, radically alter the way we interpret identical circumstances. The outside world may remain the same, yet the way we inhabit it never truly is. Try noticing it right now. What do you feel as these words reach you? Has the room you're in transformed? Or has something subtle within you shifted instead? Living philosophy begins precisely in this quiet space between stimulus and response. In the moment we choose how to see. And in choosing to see differently, we quietly recreate the very world we inhabit. When we finally understand that mind and reality are deeply intertwined, we cease to be prisoners of what happens and begin to co-create the texture of our experience. We cannot control the external world entirely, yet we can transform the way it resonates within us. And in this paradox, something magical unfolds. By changing within, the world outside often begins to shift as well. Time as a human construction. Have you ever noticed how a single day can feel endless when sadness lingers, yet vanish in an instant when joy fills your heart? The clock may mark the same number of hours, but our experience of those hours is never the same. This subtle contrast reminds us of something essential. Time is not merely something that exists outside of us. It is also an intimate construction, shaped by memory, emotion, and expectation. Philosophers like St. Augustine pondered this mystery centuries ago. He once said, "If no one asks me what time is, I know. But if someone asks, I no longer know." Modern science echoes this paradox. There is no universal now. Each person experiences time uniquely, sculpted by the inner rhythm of their perception. The mind organizes past and future, yet the present slips quietly away, unless we choose to notice it. We witness this in everyday life. Nostalgia surfaces when an old song plays, or anxiety rises as we imagine what might come next. The past and future exist only because the mind continually recreates them. The body, the heartbeat, and life itself, however, unfold only here, in this moment. To overlook this truth is to miss the only place where life truly happens, the present. How often do we catch ourselves waiting for the right moment to feel happy? For a better job, the perfect relationship, a calmer phase of life. But what if that perfect moment never arrives? Or worse, what if it is already here? When we realize that time is a perception, we stop postponing life. We begin to seek it in the rhythm of our breath, in a quiet gesture, in the instant we hold right now. But this realization does not demand we abandon plans or memories, but rather that we learn to balance them, to take lessons from the past without being bound to it, to dream of the future without living only for it, to inhabit the present as the meeting point where everything converges, where true change quietly begins. Understanding time in this way softens chaos and loosens the grip of haste on our lives. When we stop racing against the clock and begin instead to dance with it, something profound shifts. We awaken to the truth that life has always been happening, not yesterday, not tomorrow, but here, in this unfolding now. And from this place, anchored in presence, we step into the next concept, the duality between body and consciousness, and how it invites us to re-examine what we truly are. The duality between body and consciousness. Have you ever felt that there is something within you, an unchanging presence, quietly observing everything? The body ages, the voice shifts in tone, thoughts arise and fade. Yet there remains a silent witness that seems untouched by time. Who is this observer? Is it simply the byproduct of brain activity, or something beyond what can be measured? This question has echoed through centuries of philosophy and still whispers within each of us today. And Descartes famously declared, "I think, therefore I am." But is thinking truly the only proof of existence? What about the moments of profound silence when no thought arises, yet life undeniably pulses through you? Consciousness may be far broader than thought alone. Perhaps we are something that utilizes the body and the mind, yet is not confined to either of them. In an everyday life, this duality reveals itself in subtle yet powerful ways. When you feel physical pain, there is simultaneously a part of you that observes the pain without becoming the pain itself. When a strong emotion surfaces, anger, joy, sadness, there is a quiet space within that perceives the emotion. If we can witness the body and mind, then who is the we that perceives them? This reflection is not meant to create separation, but to invite integration. By recognizing that we are more than the body, we learn to care for it without confusing ourselves with it. By understanding that we are more than our thoughts, we can observe them without being swept away by their currents. This realization brings lightness. We are not prisoners of what we feel or think, but travelers inhabiting a wider space of being. Imagine living with this remembrance in your daily life. In the midst of conflict, recalling that you are not merely the anger you feel. When facing a mirror, remembering that your essence is not limited to the reflection staring back at you. Such awareness transforms how we relate to ourselves and to others, opening the door to deeper compassion, both inward and outward. When we awaken to the truth that we are both body and consciousness, something profound stirs. A sense of belonging intertwined with a sense of freedom. We belong to matter, yet we are not imprisoned by it. We can nurture the body while honoring the boundless depth of the soul. With this perspective alive within us, we move gently toward the next concept, the universal interconnection that binds all things together. The universal interconnection. Have you ever felt, even for a brief moment, that everything is somehow connected? That a seemingly simple event, a chance encounter, a quiet coincidence, an unexpected synchronicity, carries a meaning far deeper than it appears. This perception, present in both philosophy and ancient spiritual traditions, reminds us of something profound. Nothing exists in true isolation. Every life, every thought, every action vibrates outward, touching something beyond itself, often in ways we cannot fully see. The Stoic philosophers referred to this interconnection as the logos. In Buddhism, it is called interbeing. Today, quantum physics echoes this truth as it explores how distant particles seem to influence each other instantly, as though linked by an unseen thread. And in daily life, we notice it when a single act of kindness inspires another, when a smile shifts the mood of an entire day, when we feel the weight of the world's suffering, even if we are not directly living it. Everything, in its own quiet way, is a link in the same chain. This understanding invites us to reconsider our sense of responsibility. If every action reverberates beyond ourselves, what are we truly planting in the invisible field that binds us all together? What happens within does not remain solely within. It ripples outward. The care we extend to ourselves subtly nurtures the world. The anger we harbor can create waves that touch those around us in ways we may never realize. What if what we call the individual is in truth a temporary expression of something far greater? Like waves that appear separate yet belong entirely to the same ocean, our lives rise and fall within a vast unity. When we recognize this, loneliness softens. We begin to understand that we have never truly walked alone. We are bound by breath, by memory, by stories and dreams that move silently across visible and invisible boundaries. In everyday life, this awareness can transform even the smallest of actions. The way we speak to someone at the market, the way we treat an animal, the care we give to the earth beneath our feet. Each gesture becomes a seed planted into the collective soil, growing in places we may never witness. And quietly, those seeds shape the world we all share. And to feel oneself as part of something greater does not erase individuality. It grants purpose. Understanding that we belong to a living web imbues every step with meaning. And with this expanded awareness alive within us, we move toward the next concept, the paradox of knowing and not knowing, where true wisdom humbly begins. The paradox of knowledge and ignorance. The more we learn, the more we become aware of how little we truly know. Socrates named this very realization as the essence of wisdom, the humble acknowledgement of one's own ignorance. This paradox invites us into humility, not as weakness, but as openness, as a quiet willingness to keep discovering. It is a subtle reminder that the universe is far too vast, too layered and mysterious to ever be fully contained within absolute answers. We live in a world saturated with information. We seem to know so much, and yet at the same time, so little about what truly matters, who we are, why we are here, and what gives meaning to the lives we lead. Often, we mistake the accumulation of data for understanding life. But true understanding is not born out of the rush to know. It emerges from the willingness to listen deeply, to dwell in the questions rather than force answers. In daily life, this paradox reveals itself in subtle ways. When someone shares their story, and instead of replying with our opinions, we simply listen. When a child asks a question and we do not have an answer, but allow the question to blossom in silence. When we stop trying to explain everything and begin to feel the living mystery, that quietly surrounds us. This paradox challenges us. Can you endure not knowing? Can you live without forcing every piece of the puzzle to fit neatly into place? The mind constantly seeks certainties to feel safe, but the soul grows precisely in the spaces between them. It is there, in the fertile ground of doubt, that living philosophy quietly begins to bloom. Recognizing our own ignorance does not diminish us. It expands us. When we accept that there will always be more to learn, we make room for curiosity, for empathy, and for reverence toward life itself. The wise are not those who hoard answers, but those who cultivate questions that deepen their vision of existence. But when we release the need for absolute control and surrender to the mystery, something profound shifts. The world ceases to feel like a threat and begins to feel like an invitation. And with this humble, open gaze, we step forward into the next concept: freedom and responsibility, where every choice reveals the quiet yet immense power to shape the life we live. Freedom and responsibility, the weight and beauty of choice. Every single day, whether we realize it or not, we choose. We choose how to respond, how to speak, how to think. And each quiet choice, often unnoticed, sends invisible ripples outward, shaping the contours of our tomorrow. Existentialist philosophy reminds us of this fundamental truth. We are free, yet this very freedom carries weight, the weight of authorship. No one else writes the story of our lives but us. Jean-Paul Sartre famously declared, "We are condemned to be free." Condemned because there is no escaping choice. Even inaction is a choice. But equally blessed, because that same freedom grants us the chance to begin again at any moment. What would you do if you fully embraced the reality that the next step, always and entirely, belongs to you? We feel this truth most vividly when standing at the crossroads of difficult decisions. To remain in the familiar or step into the unknown. To respond with anger or to choose calm. To live seeking approval or to live authentically. None of these choices are neutral. Each one lays a brick in the unfolding architecture of the life we call our own. The responsibility that comes with freedom can feel daunting. It is far easier to blame fate, circumstance, or the actions of others. Yet when we stop handing over that power, something profound shifts. We discover that even amid chaos, we still hold the ability to choose our response. And that single choice can quietly transform everything. This understanding pulls us out of passivity and invites us into conscious creation. If every act matters, how do you wish to shape the world around you? What seeds are you planting with your words, your silences, your gestures? Freedom offers not only power, but also the opportunity to align our actions with the deepest truth of who we are. To embrace freedom is to claim authorship over our own story. It is to recognize that even within our limitations, we can create meaning in what we live. And with this awakening, we step naturally toward the next concept, impermanence, where we will learn to welcome change as an essential part of the quiet miracle of existence. Impermanence and the value of the present. Everything you love will one day change. This truth may seem harsh at first, yet it is precisely what gives life its beauty. Heraclitus once said, "Nothing is permanent except change." When we resist this reality, we suffer. But when we learn to embrace it, we discover that every moment is precious, precisely because it will never repeat itself in the same way again. Think back to the last time you experienced something unique without realizing it. A conversation that would never happen again. A smile that might not return. A sunset that would never be painted across the sky in quite the same hues. How many of these fleeting moments have we overlooked, believing that later would be better? And what if what you've been seeking has already been here, quietly present all along? In everyday life, impermanence reveals itself quietly. In the growth of a child, in the aging of your own face, in the turning of the seasons that change without asking permission. Life is always transforming. This constant shift can feel unsettling, but it can also set us free. For if everything changes, then renewal is always possible. To accept impermanence is to embrace life as it truly is, a continuous flow without guarantees. It does not mean abandoning dreams, but rather releasing the habit of postponing joy. It is to realize that the present moment is all we truly have, and precisely because of this, it is sacred. Each breath we take is a quiet miracle, lost if we fail to notice it as it happens. This awareness invites us to greet the now with gratitude, to savor the smallest gestures, the warmth of a morning coffee, the breeze brushing across our skin, the gentle touch of a friend's hand. Because we know everything will change, we learn to love with greater intensity. And because everything passes, we learn to release what no longer needs to be carried. When we embrace impermanence, we no longer fear endings. We celebrate presence. And with this awakened heart, attuned to the sacredness of each instant, we step toward the climax of this journey. The unification of everything we have explored: mind, time, body, freedom, and mystery, into a single gaze, capable of transforming forever the way we live. The silent unity. When philosophy becomes life. Throughout this journey, we have crossed concepts that both challenged and embraced us. The mind that shapes reality, time that bends and flows, the meeting of body and consciousness, the invisible web that binds us, the wisdom born of not knowing, the freedom that demands courage, the impermanence whispering now. All of these threads weave together into a single invitation to live fully awake. True philosophy does not end in books or theories. It begins when it descends into the heart and reaches our actions. When every choice becomes conscious, when every silence carries meaning, when we finally see that the extraordinary hides in the simple, and that life has never ceased to be sacred, even in its most ordinary moments. But to perceive this is like waking from a long and quiet sleep. The world remains the same, yet our eyes have changed. Colors appear richer. Time feels softer. Even what once seemed like a problem now reveals itself as an opportunity. Not because challenges vanish, but because we have learned to walk with them without losing our center. Perhaps you sense right now that the answers you sought are not definitive, but you also realize that you no longer need them to live with meaning. What truly matters is presence, the practice of gratitude, and the quiet decision, moment by moment, of what you wish to plant in the world. This is living philosophy, practical, simple, and profound. Before we close, offer yourself a silent gesture. Take a deep breath. Feel the weight on your shoulders ease. Recognize that each day is a fresh chance to embody what you have discovered here. You do not need to change everything at once. You only need to change the way you see the very next moment. It is in this moment that life is truly happening. If this reflection stirred something within you, consider subscribing and sharing it with someone who might need these words. Spreading such ideas is more than sharing content. It is lighting small beacons in the dark. From this day forward, may you see the world with new eyes. And never forget, philosophy begins in silence, but it blooms in the way we choose to live. And so, see you in the next video, with more information on everything that involves growing, evolving, transforming, and manifesting. See you soon.